Firehouse Vigilance Weekly Scrap, number 44. Welcome to the scrap. Justin Lorenzen of the training officer, OKC Fire Department, Lieutenant in the training division. I love your page. I love what you stand for. I'm very glad to have you on the scrap this week. It's going to be a lot of fun talking to you. Of course, his opinions do not necessarily reflect those of his department. Have to always throw that in there for people. But Justin, very excited to have you on the scrap this week. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
To everyone that's watching the scrap live, if you have questions for Justin or myself, please do not hesitate to throw them into the chat. I will read them and get them out there to discuss. Did I miss anything, Justin? Anything you want to add on your intro?
Nope. Sounds good, man.
All right, we'll get right into it. How has it been going for you being in training, large classes, large recruit classes, and all the craziness going on right now in the world?
Man, to be honest, it really hadn't been that bad. We've got to obviously go by the guidelines and stuff, but other than that, we've kind of pretty much been going like usual, other than the distancing and the mask and having temps checked and that kind of stuff with the recruit class, but they're still coming to the academy. We're still getting out of the drill field, doing our training, taking a couple extra steps of disinfecting the SCBAs and that kind of stuff. But for the most part, we've been pretty fortunate because I know there's been quite a few departments around the country that have had to actually cease or go virtual or something like that. And luckily our administration, we've been pretty fortunate that we didn't have to do that yet.
Good deal. Has it cut down on the applicants and the processes, or has it been have you not felt it yet?
I don't think we felt it yet. I'd say part of that would be they had the process that was going at the time when this all started. They paused it because I think they just finished the CPAT and then was fixing to do the written, and they paused that. And then after they got back to where the numbers were kind of leveled out or whatever, then they were going back to finishing up the process. And we may possibly have a class by the end of the year or the first of the year, but that's pretty much all it's affected.
Nice. I mean, that's better than a lot have done. How big is this next class going to be? Are you guys expecting, or do you know yet?
We haven't been told.
Okay. But you do deal with some large recruit classes. So
yeah, typically our classes are anywhere from 35 to 50.
Right on. And some of the challenges that you're unique to having those bigger classes, do you think it's an advantage or disadvantage to have that bigger class?
Man, I say it's an advantage because you get that many more firefighters in the field when they graduate. But as far as the training side of it, depending on the length of your academy, it's a lot of people to get through reps and get through as many reps that we want to get through to get them trained on what we need to train them on. So it's difficult, but as you know, everything me and Court do is not easy.
Right
so.
on. Speaking of Court, Shaky McFireman chimed in and said, "Nice fool's shirt, brother."
Yeah, I got to represent.
I was gonna wear it too, but then I realized I wore it last week, so I couldn't go back to back on my. I need to get more colors of fool's shirts. Awesome. So give me a rundown of your training philosophy. I've got to talk to Court before, so I do have a pretty good handle on it, but I want to hear Justin Lorenzen's version of your guys' training philosophy.
So basically we get the recruits, they come to the academy, and we start at the very basic level, which this is one of the things that I learned whenever I started. For example, the first class that I helped train, 18-1, they were, I did forcible entry. And I get down there and I start teaching forcible entry. Well, what I failed to recognize was you've got people that come to the academy that were either teachers or insurance salesmen or whatever that have absolutely no clue what a Halligan is. And I didn't think that basic. Right. So I'm showing them, I'm like, all right, so you take this tool, the Halligan, you put it here and you do that. And what I failed to recognize was you had to actually make it more basic than what you think is basic. And so, with that being done with that class, I actually had to take a step back and retrain them on forcible entry because we had it to where they weren't confident. Like a day or two later, they weren't catching just the bare basics on it. So I had to go back and be like, okay, now I see what's going on. Basic, make it basic, and start from here. So that was one of the biggest things is training people or training recruits that have absolutely no clue whatsoever or have nothing about the fire service. You got to really make it. I hate saying it and dumb it down, but you got to make it like the very basic to their understanding. And that,
yeah, all the way to zero. Find the new true zero.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing I've learned being down there is when we're teaching skills is to be able to just, I mean, literally start at the, if you want to call it kindergarten level and go from there. So I'd say that's probably one of the biggest things I've learned down there so far.
So far, nice. Anything that you have learned since going to training that a younger Justin Lorenzen would laugh at now or would call BS on?
Call as far as call BS on as a recruit.
Well, just what you've learned, just how your mindset might have changed since you were younger.
Um, I'll be honest. I don't think we had the academy I went through was it was pretty basic for the best words of choice.
Sure.
And no, I don't know. To
Fair.
be honest,
Fair.
there's nothing I'd call bullcrap on for the most part.
All right, that's fair. The one of the things I love that you and Court put together was the extended training day. That was the original thing that you guys called it. I know it has a different name now, but that thing is amazing and awesome. And if you could just take a minute and explain what the extended training day is all about.
So that started with 18-1. That started about 2 years ago, about 3 years ago with 18-1. And traditionally, like me and Court experienced when we went through the academy, you'd go to the stations for 24 hours and spend your 24 hours there with the crews. And some guys would get a lot of calls and get a lot of good experience. And some guys would be stuck at the station just scrubbing a section of a wall that hadn't been cleaned in 10 years.
Right.
So we're like, how can we make this better? And we saw that Tulsa did theirs overnight at training. And we're like, we can do that, but we can make it better. So me and Court sat down and started scratching stuff out on paper and tried to decide how we were going to do it and come up with EMS calls that they were going to run, fire calls they're going to run. And the first time that we did it, I'm not going to lie, Corley, it was freaking butt kicker. It kicked me in the Court's butt, man. We were freaking out. We didn't sleep for 24 hours and we were resetting everything, doing all the fires, and we got our freaking butt kicked. But since then, it's gotten substantially better. So the next year, we got volunteers from the field, and we got, for instance, we got guys that were trying to be driver or studying for driver or new drivers, and had them come in, and we let them be company officers. Nice. So they would get 3 or 4 of the recruits, and they would have them for that 24-hour shifts. And then when they're not making rides, then they would be doing building surveys, flowing plugs. The officer could do any type of training of his choice, any of that kind of stuff. And we treat the training facility just like a station. So we had USAR cots brought in, parts of the training facility we'd set up for each stations where they could sleep. The recruits would bring food in and cook breakfast and dinner or brunch and dinner. And it turned out to where it was just, man, we were kicking butt with it. And then what it's progressed to now is, in fact, before this last class, we had the fire corps come in, and they acted as civilians for our EMS calls. Right. And then distracting them on fire calls. And, oh, my baby's inside, or I came out of this window and somebody's still in there, and they loved it. They came in shifts, like 3 or 4 hour shifts throughout the 24 hours. And we even had them during the night.
Right.
And then we also have a series of Signal 82s for them to run. So we'll get cars from the local junkyard, and we'll set them up for different Signal 82s, low angle rescues, and dispatch them from the training center. So we'll have our training rig and 3 or 4 other rigs from what we call our boneyard that we use also, and we'll stage them up at training. And then we'll actually dispatch them over the radio, because their training officers will have, not training officers, their officers of their company will have a radio. And then we'll dispatch them over the radio, tell them what they're coming to, and then they'll leave the training center, get in a rig with their gear, and respond down to the drill ground, and then go through the fire alarm, EMS call, Signal 82 or whatever. And we just do that for 24 hours.
No, yeah, it was awesome. In fact, you guys got to invite one of our rigs down to participate in the last one. We got to do one of those 4-hour blocks with one of our crews, and it was. I got to come down and watch it, and it was amazing. They did a full, I believe it was a residential response, 2-story structure on fire, and they were the first due engine and radio traffic, everything, man. It was pretty
Yeah.
impressive. And like, even like you said, I forget whose wife it was, came up and was grabbing the company officers. He came off the rig, grabbing his arm, saying, my kids are inside. My kids are inside. And
Yeah,
so,
I think that may have been Major Davis's wife.
so yeah,
Either Major Davis or Major Yaw, yeah.
yeah, she played it great, and it was awesome. And she was a great distraction. It was very highly realistic. The radio traffic, the way the rigs were manned, of course, the live fire, all of it was just unreal. And then we went and did EMS calls at a house and talked about scene safety. Y'all went through a lot of the scene safety and
Situation awareness.
Yes, man.
Yeah.
It was just a good training. I couldn't believe how 24 hours, that's just unreal. You guys put that together, and it just gets better and better each year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was awesome that you guys got to bring a rig down, because having you guys as soon to be auto aid,
Right.
and then even our mutual aid companies, if we could get the surrounding companies to do that, or the surrounding suburban departments to do that, that'd be freaking awesome. Just to get that consistency.
Right. No. And there's just the reps were invaluable for our guys, and Shecky McFireman Smith is chiming in again. He said, more fire showed up in a big way last time, bro. Keep it going, Chief. And they did. Those guys that came down were really, they did a good job. And they were so appreciative. They talked about it for like forever afterwards. And they're actually jealous because we're going to try and send a different crew the next time you guys do it. So.
Yeah. And I don't remember who it was, because did you send down a driver? Was it just a driver and some firefighters?
We
or
had
two
two of our
drivers?
new drivers that had just promoted that came down, and they swapped out being
Man.
the officer.
Both of your drivers freaking killed it with their on-scene stuff, and that was awesome. And then they asked questions too. That was the awesome thing, is they were like, this is our way and this is how we're going to do it. It wasn't that way. It was, hey, how do you guys do it? How do you want us to talk on the radio? And we told them, we're like, hey, just do how you do at home, because we're not trying to change how you talk on the radio. Keep it consistent. And they ate it up. It was freaking awesome.
No, and they brought it back too. In fact, each one of them wrote like a 1 or 2 page report on everything that they'd learned, and it was really good stuff, man. So, and even the young guys, I think we sent a rookie up, and even
Johnson,
yeah, he typed out a 2-page report that I have still sitting on my desk of everything he learned at that.
Yeah, we told him we're recruiting his brother.
Gotcha. So, hey, man, yeah, Johnson, he brought it. So, yeah, the extended training day, dude, that's amazing. Everything from the rookies having to cook all day, being assigned to rigs, just doing normal station duties. I mean, it's just as close to a realistic simulation as you can get, for 24 hours, and it's just so impressive.
Yeah. Well, and the whole goal behind it was to get away from, hey, you might get some calls at this station, or you may make a lot of calls at this station. Instead, everybody gets to come to training. It's all in with the training staff, because all of our training staff is involved in it. And I'm not going to lie, this is my third one that we did. And about probably 10 o'clock, and the guys probably going to comment or laugh at me, but about 10 o'clock, I was out, dude. The last two, I stayed up all night, but this one, I did the live burns all day at 80, 85 degrees outside, and I was freaking done. Yeah.
No, it's awesome. And what's happening, and it's really great to see, is the way more OKC and Midwest City, you got you and Court, of course, Stager and Muncie down at Moore, and then Brush over in Midwest City, and it's becoming this whole metro. Just, it's hard to describe the synergy that's occurring between everybody, and just the working togetherness, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we're trying to overcome past ideals, I guess, because in the past, and I don't know if you experienced this, but. And we've talked about it in the past. It's like, oh, Oklahoma City, they know everything. We don't want to talk to those guys,
right.
Or
we don't want to lose our fire to those guys.
Yeah. Right. Or even before I came to the city, when I was at Nova, it was like, oh, Norman, we don't want to talk to those guys. But that's what we're trying to get rid of. We all were surrounding each other. Why not work together?
Sure.
And so we kind of do that with the MAFTA, the Metro Fire Training Association, get together and we meet every other month, and which not lately we haven't, but and share ideas, share syllabuses, share all that kind of stuff, information, so we can kind of stay on the same page. So yeah, absolutely.
So moving on from training itself to the training officer page, which is the page you run on Facebook, and just where that came from, how it started, and go for it.
So I started that when I came down to training, which has been right about 2 years this month. And it was just something where I wanted to get on and start a page where I could kind of write my thoughts about training and fire stuff, partially because the wife is like, all he's on your regular page is fire stuff. So I was trying to create something else.
Gotcha.
So keep family on the family page and then fire stuff on the training page. But yeah, I created that for that. And then I like to share a lot of other people's stuff that some people might not see. Your stuff, search culture, all that stuff, you
Absolutely.
know, Fit, Fight, Fire. And then kind of where I could blog on it and talk on it and get ideas. And it's just, I mean, it's not really that big of a deal, but just something I could vent on and talk on, and you know.
No, I loved it because I found it just, you know, scrolling through. I'm like, oh, I like this guy's content. This is cool stuff. Then I don't know, remember what cued me in. I'm like, wait, this guy's from OKC Metro somewhere. And then I just reached out to you. I think I messaged you on the training officer page, and I was like, hey, let's go have lunch.
Yeah.
So, and you're awesome.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So for there, we're just best friends now. Chris McMillan.
So I guess I got something good out of it.
Yeah. Chris McMillian said, ask J-Lo about the 2.5 to the face from that fire behind him.
Oh my God. I knew I should have changed that background. All right. So
from the fire behind him. I got you.
Yeah. There's actual video thanks to another firefighter's helmet camera. I made this fire. This is when I was driving Chief Pascal 603. I drove for about 3 years, probably one of, if not one of the best chiefs on the department. But we made this fire right at shift change. We get there as we're coming on shift, and I'm going to grab a hand line, and I duck under a master stream, which is a blitz fire with a smooth bore, about 6 feet from the end of the nozzle. Grab a hand line. I'm fixing to go put out some fire and do some stuff with my mask on, breathing air. And then somebody comes up to me and is like, hey, we need that light over here. I was like, okay, cool. So I give it to him, and I turn around, and I'm like 2 feet from that stream, and I completely forgot that I ducked under it. And it freaking center punched me right in the left side of the face. And the video looks worse than what actually happened because I had my mask on, everything. And after I got hit and it whipped my head around, I still had a seal on my mask. I never lost a seal.
Nice.
So, but yeah, thanks, Chris. Appreciate that.
Chris got your back. And Dane says, yeah, Princess hit the cop by 9, which I'm assuming he's talking about extended training day.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks, Mage.
No, I love the stuff you share. It was going on my feed, and like I said, let's do lunch. We had lunch, and I've just enjoyed it since. You asked a question on your page recently that was, what does leadership look like to you? So now I want to turn around and throw it at you. What does leadership look like to you?
Well, I'll start by saying I've got one other person that also blogs on my page that I ask because I'm pretty close to him, and he's a pretty good leader, LJ Geist.
Yeah.
And that was actually his question.
Oh, okay.
But I'll still answer it.
Yeah. I'm still throwing it at you. No avoidance.
No, I'm not avoiding. I just want to give credit. I just want to give credit to who's due. Leadership to me looks like setting the example, being the one that you walk what you talk, and not only that, but also preparing and empowering your guys. You know, if you're the officer at the station and you've got guys that are studying or need to do certain things, prepare them, help them out, give them goals, and then check on those goals and follow up with it. So I'd say that's probably what I'd say. What does leadership look like? It looks like somebody that sets the example and they put other people in front of them.
Nice. Can't argue. In preparation for the scrap, it went up on Instagram. There was questions submitted, and I chose a few of them to throw at you. So, and I also ignored your question because you wrote your own question. So anyway, just kidding. From Hannah Elliott, who always asks questions, she said, have you ever dealt with a zealous fireman who wants to achieve mastery of the job, and what tips do you have for maintaining that person's momentum?
So yes, because when I had guys underneath me, I encouraged that. And the way that I went with their momentum is to feed it and keep going with it, and if they want to train, then let's go freaking train. I mean, I'm in. The more you want to do, I'm in. That's how I was brought up in it, and that's how I try to bring the young group up. And if I got guys that are eager to go do stuff and real zealous about it, freaking I'm in. I don't care what time it is. It'd be 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Let's go do it. It's up to you.
Let's go throw ladders, stretch lines.
Yeah,
I love it, man.
Let's go flow water. And and I've got an actual story about that. I had a younger firefighter underneath me that we were out flowing water as a station doing a drill for the officer wanted to go out and do drills. So we're going out and we're doing it, and all the drills are over and everything, and we're flowing water, and he's having a hard time with the different positions that we teach on the hose line. So I'm down there helping him. He's like, and you could tell that the older drivers and the officers were frustrated and they're ready to go back, take a nap, because it's like 2:00 in the afternoon. He's like, that's all right. We can go back to the station and we can flow water there. I was like, no, we can do it right here. They can wait. I was like, you're here trying to get better. They want to go back and take a freaking nap. We're going to stay here and flow water, and we're going to work on these positions until you get it down. There's no reason why we need to go back just because they want to go back because they're tired. That's stupid. You're down here trying to learn the best thing that you need for your job. That's what we're going to do. So yeah, freaking promote it as much as you can. Absolutely.
Just engage, promote, push.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. I love it. The Paige Bischoff asked, what is the best way to get fit?
The best way to get fit, I'd say with our profession, I would start by one, cardio, endurance. For those that don't know, I run the physical aspect of the academy, so we do a lot of running, which most hate.
Right.
And, yeah, imagine that. And then we do circuit training on the days that we're not running. So we run probably 2 days a week, circuit training 3 days a week. The running aspect of it, we'll start out running 2 to 3 miles, which they're expected to show up running 3 miles. And then we end up doing 6 to 7 miles, probably week 3, week 4, that kind of stuff. But more back to the question is endurance is a big thing. You could be the biggest muscled up strength guy out there, but if you don't have the endurance to work hard at a high heart rate for 20 to 30 minutes, then you're kind of hurting yourself. So, and like I tell the recruits, the reason why we run for 40 to 45 minutes and have a heart rate of 150, 160 is so you can work on thinking about and controlling your breathing. Think about it, control it. If you can do that at the 30, 45 minute mark, or, whatever, at 150, 165 heart rate, then you can do that when you're working with a pack, breathing air, which will help consume air or help not consume too much air.
Sure.
So leading off of that, your air consumption on your packs, I'd say that is the best way to try to get fit is go out, work as hard as you can, breathing air until you suck it to your face, and then come back and record those times and continue working until you can make that time better. And then know those times, because those times are important.
Right on. Just journal it and just keep accountability and see the improvement.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. And I want to add on, Paige, on the question, the best way to get fit is everything J-Lo said. I'm not contradicting him at all, but for you, the best thing to do is whatever one you will do every day, stick to that one, because a lot of people will use the excuse of I don't know what to do, so I'm not going to do anything. So whatever you will get out there and do every day is 100% the first one you should do every day. So,
yeah, and I would add to that, Paige's follow Fit to Fight Fire. They have some awesome workouts and some awesome advice on that kind of stuff too. So John Sparrow and them, they'll lead you in the right way.
Excellent. No, there's a lot of good resources, Instagram, Facebook,
Fire Service Warrior.
Yes. Go ahead. We'll keep rattling them off.
Sorry. Fire Service Warrior, his workout program, Brandon's workout program, that little booklet you can get, that's phenomenal. Because it starts you off at the basic level and you work up, and each time you're working on masking out, you're working on breathing on air, and so on and so on. That's an excellent program.
And then Firefighter Functional Fitness, it'd be hard not to mention theirs in their book. Yeah. So lots of good resources there. Speaking of books, moving on to J-Lo. I always ask the guest if they have a book they think that firefighters should read, book or books, so I don't want to lock you into one, that they think firefighters should read.
I'll have to start with the Talent Code, and that's Credit to Court. It talks about deep practice and how to get better at a certain thing. And it's not fire related,
right?
But it's an excellent book. That'd be probably one of the best ones. But one of the ones personally for me that wasn't recommended that I just read was from Rick George, Bob Carpenter, and Gillespie.
Yes.
It was the Firefighter Resiliency. That's to be honest, unofficially, that's what we base our training off of.
Nice. No, love Rick George. I never met him.
Oh,
I
have, and that guy is freaking awesome, man.
Dude, he is. I'll give you a quick Rick George story just to tell you how awesome he is. I had John Spear was going to be on, and he had stuff come up. We're firefighters, so it happens. It's one of the hardest things to do is schedule firemen. And so anyway, Rick George actually reached out on Facebook and said, I'm really looking forward to the scrap where you talk to John Spear, because they just come out with their book, Mindset. And I was like, well, I hate to break it to you, but we're not having him on. I said, so there's no scrap today. I said, unless you want to come on. And I was just saying it as a joke. And he was like, oh, let me check with the wife. And he was on the scrap that night and took John Spear's place for that night. And he was one of the most genuine dudes I've ever met, man. He was awesome.
I'm telling you, hey, just kind of a side note and kind of getting off track.
Sure.
So
this is scrap. There is no track.
Yeah.
We can go anywhere.
True. I will say one thing. I met him at FDIC one year, or I found out about him at FDIC, and then I read his book, and he commented on a post that I had on the training officer, because I posted a deal about building construction, and it was about houses that were built or framed with basically OSB that was laminated together, and how it was a death to firefighters. And shortly after that, I was corrected by another individual that's not true, and it's fear mongering. And I was like, okay, well, give me some facts. So I found out the facts. So I went back on there. I was like, hey, this post is false and it's not true, and I regret what I say due to this. And I gave them the info to where they could find the actual info. And Rick George came on there. He goes, dude, the humility you just showed is amazing. He goes, next time I see you, you come up to me and let me know who you are, and I want a big hug.
There you go. That's it, man.
Okay. So I did exactly that. FDIC 2018, I found him at the Fools Bash in Indiana. And I said, do you remember that post on the training officer page? Because he's out there standing out there smoking a cigar. I said, do you remember that post on the training officer's page? And he's like, I do. And I owe you a hug. And I was like, all right. It was me and Raquel, me and my wife standing there.
Right.
And ever since then, and then after that, what I was trying to get to was I had a fellow firefighter that had some issues that I was able to call him with.
Right.
And literally, Corley, like, the guy that was having the issues was stuck at a hospital, wasn't going to be discharged, and missed their flight to somewhere else they were going to go to be taken care of. I called Rick. He made a phone call, called me back, and had him on a flight to Shatterproof like the next day.
Wow. No, and that's just par for the course from everything I've ever heard or met or seen about him. So amazing person. And
yeah,
hard to
mad respect for him.
No, that's it. Yeah, that's the best way to say it. So the talent code and firefighter resilience, is it? I'm going to butcher the name, but firefighter resiliency.
Yeah.
Rick George.
Developing firefighter resiliency.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now we have this little thing on the weekly scrap we do called the 5 questions for firefighters. Okay. And it's just 5 fun questions. There is no right or wrong answers, just your opinions, and the points are arbitrary. So are you ready for the 5 questions for firefighters?
I guess.
You guess? All right.
No, I'm ready. Let's do it.
What is the number one issue facing the modern fire service, according to Justin Lorenzen?
So I'll start out by saying, I'm not going to lie, I cheated. Been listening to the rest of them, so I've been thinking about it. But honestly, I think maybe not the number one, but probably one of the number one issues is humility. Having crews come down to training and do stuff, there's guys that don't have the humility to be able to put themselves out there and fail, knowing that they might fail in front of their crew. They just want to stand back. They just want to stand back and evaluate or maybe see how everybody else does things. Yeah, exactly. Nope. So that's a big deal. I mean, you got to be able to put yourself out there from the recruit to the officer. Be able to go out there. That's the time to fail. That's the time to do things wrong, because that's how you learn from it. We preach that to our recruits.
100%. Now let me
drill.
Oh, go ahead. I want to dig in on your answer a little bit. I'm going to ask you. I said, do you think that's a failure of the culture, of the leadership, of the person itself? I mean, obviously personal accountability, but where do you put the most blame if you were going to assign it? Put you on the spot.
Man, that's a good question. I would say probably the history meaning like how it's been in the past. Mm-hmm. Just because, when I came on, probably when you came on too, It was, I don't care what you have to say. don't say anything. You're a
Sit down,
neck
shut up.
downer.
Yeah.
You sit down, shut up, and go from here. Do what I tell you. So, uh, it's hard to say.
No, there was a story, and there was one time a guy we were doing some training. It was some company standards type training. A few companies were together, and one of the young guys piped up and said, "Hey, I'd like to throw that 35," because he'd never thrown it. And one of the chiefs just like, "What? You don't know how to raise a ladder?" Just completely just. And then that guy, when it was over, says, "I will never open my mouth again." Yeah. And it's just like, whoa. So that was a lesson learned. And then another one that ties right into what you're saying, we were flowing some, I think we were just flowing 1 3/4. We were just doing some hose advancements just in a parking lot type deal. And some of the young guys had been to some classes and had some really good knowledge on some grips and things like that. But they went to show an older guy one of the grips, and the older guy was like, I don't do that because of my shoulder, or whatever his excuse was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I discovered right then, because I just went over and I said, I waited a few minutes, but I went over and said, "Hey, show me what you were doing." And they did, and they knew what they were talking about too, because they actually made me better right then and there. But just doing that in front of the other guy, he actually watched, and then he tried it, and then he kind of got past his excuses and learned. It was really, to watch it happen live was really eye-opening to me. So
Yeah.
anyway, and when you said humility, I never even looked at it that way, but there's so many guys that do this because they're too scared to mess up.
Well, and it's not that they don't necessarily know it. Well, actually, yeah, it is. It's because they either don't know it or they're not comfortable doing it.
Yeah, the comfort. Yeah,
and it's not just on the drill ground. It's at the stations. If you have a recruit that's studying for SOP exams during the promotional academy, their promotional period, then prepare them. Instead of saying, "Hey, are you studying your SOPs?" Get up there and give them questions. Make questions up. It takes work. That's the problem.
That effort. Yeah,
it takes effort, and then it also it takes humility, because you may not know what you're trying to test them on. Well, then do your job and freaking research it and read it and study it, and then go do it.
Yeah, and now you're better at your job too, and now you made those questions. So yeah,
exactly.
Everybody wins.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that. I love that answer. Number one, you get max points, whatever max points are. I love that for question number one. Facing the modern fire service, humility. I love that, max points. Okay, question two.
I cheated.
There's fair. Hey, there is no cheating when it's just your opinion. What is the thing you are most excited about for the future of firefighting?
I would say the younger generation coming up, because I don't know about you guys, but I know for our department, we're a very young department. Yeah. It's exciting for me in one way. In a way, I'm kind of like, because we're losing our experience.
Oh, yeah.
But we're fortunate to have guys on the job that have the experience, that are willing to share their experience. That's the important part. So having the younger generation come up, the exciting part about that is they're eager. They want to learn. They want to know, they want to do, for the most part, not everybody, but for the most part, they want to do the right thing. They want to do the best job. And what I've seen in the academy too is they want to know, you teach them training, you're training them, you show them a skill, you're showing them whatever. Yeah, they want to know how to do it, but with this other generation, they also want to know the why.
The why, yeah.
And and this is completely my opinion, I think it's imperative that you can be able to explain the why to the recruits or anybody as a training officer. If you can't explain the why, then you have no business teaching it.
Dude, I love that right there. Hey, I may even steal that as a quote. I may make it on a Firehouse Vigilance picture. I need a picture of you like kicking ass on some fire.
Yeah, just use a picture of somebody else.
So if you can't explain the why, you have no business teaching it.
The only picture you get me on a hose will be on a training fire.
I have to get Court with a nice good flex on his arm.
Yeah, we'll get Court. Yeah, there you go. Get him flexing.
All right. Good question. Good answer. I like the answer. I like the younger generation as an answer. The crazy part is, because you talk about these last 2 recruit classes we just hired, they're the guys. I've been in the fire service longer than they've been alive, and so that's when you hit that one, it's like a gut punch. You're like, holy crap, where are these kids coming from? So anyway,
man, that's what's crazy. I've been on a rig and it had maybe 12 years experience with the whole rig when I first started riding out.
Yeah.
I'm like, and that's scary.
Oh yeah.
If you're a new sergeant and you're acting up and you're riding out and you got a relief driver and 2 firefighters in the back and you've got a max of maybe 12 years, so you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do if we get
something with this getting, yeah.
Yeah.
OJT.
Yeah.
Question number 3. Best rank or position to be in the fire service?
I had a problem with this one, or not problem, but trouble thinking about this one. So I've enjoyed firefighter and I enjoyed driver, which is what I'm at now, or lieutenant. And then sometimes riding out or acting up. I made lieutenant at pretty much right at my eligible year, which is about 6 years. I was eligible at 5, missed my first test, made my second. And I felt like I thought at the time that I was ready, but once I made driver and I was assigned to a station, and then I was a single company station, and then my station officer took off after like 2 or 3 shifts, and I was there. I was basically the station officer for about a month and a half. Then I was like, what just happened? Because now I'm in charge. I'm in charge of 3 other people for the next month or so. Not to mention one of them had 11, 12 years on, or had more years on that, but 11 years in that district or whatever. So to be honest, Corley, he would drive me and I would look at him like, hey dude, you're in charge. He's like, what? I was like, dude, I'm telling you, you know more about this district and what's going on than I do.
Right.
So would I recommend promoting that early? Probably not. Would I regret it? No.
Right.
It was, when I was in the academy, I was always told, and Court probably attests to this, promote as fast as you can. That was kind of the rule, promote as fast as you can. So for our department, you get hired, and then within 5 years, you can test for sergeant, which you have the possibility of acting up and riding out.
Right.
And then you go to lieutenant right after that, so on, so on. But I'd say my best piece of advice on that would be know the position that you're in to the level of almost, if not mastery, before you try to go to the next.
Right on.
And the reason why I say that is if you know your position you're in almost, if not to the mastery level, then when you promote to the next level, then you know what to expect of the ones below you because you've made that level. So, and then it'll further help you lead the ones below you.
I like it. Question 4, best advice you've ever received?
Best advice. Oh man, I'm gonna catch crap for this. Just because I'm referencing Chief Pascal and Court's gonna nail me for it. But best advice I ever received was from Chief I used to drive, and it was don't stress over the stuff you can't control.
Ooh, I like that.
Which is very similar to Rick Lasky's stuff. He's Chief Pascal's a battalion chief for one of our districts, and that guy is so calm, cool, and collected. No matter what, the whole freaking world could be on fire, and he'd be like, "Hey, I got a fire alarm." He's just it doesn't faze him.
He's got ice.
But when he does get excited, it's like, oh crap.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say we have enough stress in our job that there's no reason to stress or be worried about the stuff that you can't control. If you can't control it, don't worry about it.
I like it. Straight out of Kobe. I love it. And the final question, one of my favorites. Heavy fire, tenable space. Would you rather be assigned nozzle or first in on VES?
I had a problem with this one too. So I'm an engine guy. Being a paramedic and being in the city, our engines are ALS, so I've been on an engine pretty much my whole career. But I've also delved pretty deep into the search stuff.
Right on.
So can I say both?
Well, that's a cop-out answer. That gets you minimal points.
Man, I'd say being on the nozzle is extremely important because if the fire didn't go out, it didn't get better. But yet making the VES and pulling the victim is just as important. I'd have to say probably the VES.
VES, all right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Man, thank you for the 5 questions for firefighters. Lots of fun always, and you answered them well. I messed up here because there's been a lot of people talking to you, and I did not scroll, so I missed all these comments. So you're going to catch up now here at a very fast rate, and we have to figure out when they said it. Okay. So LJ Geis came in and just said, Justin, my man. So LJ's here. J-Lo is tougher than boot leather, man. Nobody lasts as long as him in the burn room. So
who was that?
That's Shecky McFireman. That's cool.
Oh.
Shecky McFireman also said AMP, autonomy, mastery, purpose, motivate. So I'm thinking we were talking about training at that point. Hannah Elliott came in, and I think she was asking about clarification for her question. She said, did those momentous people ever take it too far? When we were talking earlier about
I haven't experienced that. No, I haven't experienced them taking it too far, but I mean, how do you take it too far when you're overzealous about the job? I mean, what's too far? I mean, I'm all about it. How far can you take it when you're training for something for a job that can kill you, you know?
No, I agree.
Yes,
with that.
That's kind of
the only caveat I would say, just to play devil's advocate, is you can't take it too far on duty. But if you start letting it affect the family life, I think that's that's the line. Yes. So
absolutely. And
I think
actually,
that goes without saying. Right.
Let me add to that.
Go ahead.
When it comes to off duty and doing stuff, one thing that I do or that I found that helps is most of the fire conferences and stuff that I go to, I bring the wife along. And that started with Chief Ike's Command Officer Boot Camp. And we went there, and it was awesome because they had not only stuff for us, but they had stuff for the wives.
That's awesome.
Ever since I've done that, she's gone with me to FDIC. She's gone with me to HROC. She's gone with me everywhere. And in turn, with her being a sonographer or ultrasound tech, I go to her conferences.
Nice.
So, which actually worked out better for me, to be honest. And if she's watching, sorry. But like she'll go to Vegas and I get to hang out by the pool at Caesar's Palace for a week and she's in conference. But yeah, no, I agree 100%. Once it starts affecting your family, then you need to start looking at stuff.
Right on. And I get to go down to Pensacola for his Commanding from the Sidelines. Ike's class he's putting on in November. I'm super pumped. And the wife's going, so it's going to be a real good time.
She'll have a blast.
It's going to be fun. Next up, back to Court. He said, or Shecky, I'm sorry, Court. It's easy to take it too far. Got to keep the target just beyond reach. Too hard, and they get frustrated. Too easy, and they get bored. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
like
very true.
Theory.
Yeah.
Hannah Elliott said, that's great, Justin. Love that story. Shecky came back with, best way to get in shape every day is arm day. And now you know Shecky McFireman's Court.
Surprise.
He said, hell yeah, talent code. LJ Guy said, get in gear and train. Don't even need an air pack. Straight body weight movements in your gear. Also, get a blast mask.
Yep.
Hannah came back, and I'm sorry, I missed all these guys. I apologize. So much interaction, and it was on me. Hannah Elliott said, what do you think about asking for critique about yourself from others to attempt to open the conversation, even at your own expense? That's a good question. Because
actually, that's a good question to actually do that. I mean, we do that all the time with the training cadre that we have. We'll ask each other, what do you think about this? What do you think about this, to your own expense? And that's part of the humility thing, putting yourself out there. So if you're willing to accept a negative or positive answer, ask the question, get the feedback, but you got to be willing to change it
100%.
If it's not what you hear.
And the one thing too, and this is what Kyle Romagus' page, Engine Company Resurrection, I don't know if you follow it or not, but this is why it is
absolutely.
So great, is if you post something on there, they don't allow just the haters to come in and blast it. You either get constructive and help the person out, and so the only thing I would be worried about is all the internet keyboard warriors coming in and putting you on blast when they don't even know what you're doing or what they're doing. So 100% what Justin's saying is, if you got the humility to put it out there, but find a good place to put it out there to get good feedback.
Yeah. Kyle does a good job with that page. He's got, if
anybody
watching doesn't know about it, go to the file section on their page, and there's numerous amounts of information, very good information that you can pull off there, and it's all right there for you.
It is getting worked on. I know that they're having some trouble with it because Facebook is Facebook. So I don't know the whole story.
Oh, I didn't know.
They're rebuilding it, the file section right now. I know Kyle had trouble because of Oath Keepers, I guess, is I don't know. I really don't know what's going on. It happened the last 2 days. So,
okay. Yeah,
but if you're not there, go to Engine Company Resurrection. It is one of the greatest resources for firefighters on the planet. Jamie McCammon. Sorry if I got your name wrong. Justin, looking at the questions ahead isn't cheating. It's pre-planning. There you go. Know your district. You got to pre-plan.
Thank you.
Kerry Parker, lieutenant is the best job. And he said, good job, J-Lo. Master your craft at each level. Well said, brother. That was Court on yours. And Shecky said, best advice I ever got, don't be an idiot. It changed my life. When I'm about to do something, I ask myself, would an idiot do that? And if the answer is yes, I do not do that thing.
Sometimes.
Normally, I read these as they come, guys. It's on me. I apologize. Great point on the family life off-duty time. That was from Hannah. I'm almost done, guys. Kerry Parker said, I think it's one way to grow. It can help you get better in areas you may not see as a weakness. Sean Coffey, yeah, I know. He said, Chief, I need to buy you a new cup. They are not the Redskins anymore. It's rest in peace. That's what the R stands for now. Rest in peace.
Well, that's the reason to keep it.
This is a collector's item now.
Collectors, yeah.
On the bottom, yeah, it says Captain Badass. That's from back in the day, before promotion. Final one was Austin Blake. He said, be a master of your job, a student to the job above you, and a teacher to the job below you is the best advice I ever received. Dude, I love that piece of advice. I may have to steal that one for a quote. I need to find out who said it.
That's one of our recruits.
Austin, good dude. So we interviewed him, but you guys are going to hire him, so now he's with you
Well,
guys.
you know,
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I know. We got Seth Johnson. You got Austin Blake. Good times, man.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I'm going to have Court back on. I talked to him earlier on the phone. He's going to come back on, so I'll get to pick his brain again.
Yeah, I was giving him crap. I was like, man, Corley put all his stuff on podcasts, but not yours.
Well, the whole thing is,
what?
This is the crazy part. The whole reason the Weekly Scrap exists is because my wife said, you should go live on Facebook and talk. And so all I was going to do was go on there and have little talks about whatever I wanted to ramble about. You know, because I noticed people don't read. They don't take the time to read if you write, you know, a 2,000-page. I mean, some people do, but you get my point. I was like, I can go on
Not
there.
most.
Yeah, I can talk for 30 minutes and they can get a lot more out of it, you know. So that's where it started. That's all it was. So I did like 10 of those, and you can't find them hardly anywhere, maybe YouTube, but or if you dig deep on Facebook. But Court actually called and said, hey, I want to be on the scrap. Why don't you have me on the scrap? And I was like, people would want to be on the scrap? So the whole reason the scrap exists in this format with guests coming on and talking is because of Court Smith saying that. So that's why he's coming back. That's why I'm going to get it. Because the first one we did, it was so bad. As far as my knowledge of how to make stuff work, audio-wise and things like that. So anyway.
I thought it was good.
Well, I've gotten a lot better.
Kind of.
Well,
other than his dip and glass of whiskey, you know.
No, that's just fireman being fireman. That's one of the things that makes the scrap so fun.
I'm just giving him crap because he...
All right, brother. Thank you for coming on, being the guest on Weekly Scrap number 44. Justin Lorenzen, the training officer. Anything you want to talk about, anything you want to plug? I know we got a Mid-America conference coming up. What else is going on?
Oh, yeah. Which we've all shared that, and you put that out. That conference coming up in October. That's going to be awesome. Chief Ike is the keynote. Excuse me. And then several other good instructors. And then the hands-on that'll be the next day. That's definitely worth the time. So that's
awesome.
The only thing I can think of.
Fair enough. That's October 15th, 16th, or right in that area?
16th, 17th,
16th,
I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on, being a guest. Awesome. Had a good time. Everybody with your questions, I own it 100%. I didn't scroll. It's my bad for missing them in a timely manner. So that's on me. Justin, thank you for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for the questions. I hope the tone stays silent unless it is burning. Stay safe out there. Thank you, brother.
Okay, thanks, Corley.